Hello and welcome to Fearless DIY Music. My name is Tristan Lass, and today I'm joined by my dear friend Kevin Gamble. He and I are going to have a conversation about some of the what I would call MVPs of my recent album recording sessions. I just wrapped up tracking, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to recap before I forget everything that I used, some of the things that I really leaned on hard to make the album. Some of these things will be, at least to Kevin, will not be surprises, but I'm hoping that I throw a couple things in that'll be interesting for him to ask about, and it'll give everybody who was watching this an insight into some of the tools that I really rely on when I'm recording. So I think we'll start off with a guitar that I wasn't sure if it was going to be like one of my primaries. Early on in the session, I kind of had a moment with it where I was just like, wow, this just is not sounding good on this track. It may have been the chord shape. It may have been it was slightly out of tune, but it just wasn't working for me. And I kind of threw it back up on the wall, and I grabbed another one, and I was like, okay, well, the backup guitar worked great. Obviously, I have lots of things to choose from. But then by the end of the session, it became the primary Stratocaster on pretty much everything. All the Stratocaster leads ended up being done on this guitar. And I will show you my trusty black Stratocaster. This is a forgery guitar. I bought this with Kevin in San Francisco was it a pawn shop or an actual guitar store? I don't remember.
I remember it being an actual music store.
Okay, but it had a pawn shop feel to it, though. It wasn't like a super nice store. I remember that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We didn't hit those.
Yeah. So I bought this guitar for $300. What was it? 93? It had to have been 92 or 93.
93 or 94. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was.
Yeah, I'm thinking 93.
I think it was 93. This is a 1982 Squier. First year of the Squier, and at one point I put a Fender decal on it to pass it off as being a 70s Fender, but it is an 82 Squier. Its electronics have been replaced over the years. Other than that, it is stock. It's got the same tremolo system, vibrato system on it. Neck's original, but I have refretted it. There will be a horrifying video of my refret of this guitar because it did not go well out of the gate, but ended up great. So that's going to be that video I've been thinking about making for the past 2 years. I have the footage of me actually trying to put the frets in it, and it's horrific. The beginning of that. But anyway, not to give too much away. This guitar though is just when I pick it up and I play it, it just feels like home. I've done more shows on this guitar than probably any other guitar, because forever in the 90s this was my only guitar that was really stage ready. So I've played this guitar a lot. All the wear on it is mine. It looked pretty much new when I bought it. So all the wear on the neck and everything, that's all me. And the Black Strat, it just made a comeback, and it became the Stratocaster for the album.
Tell me about the moment when the switch flipped on that, because I know heading into the recording you were having some skepticism. It wasn't seeming to jibe. So what turned that around for this guitar in the recording process?
Well, I grabbed the 60s style Sunburst, which is my 2004 Mexican Stratocaster, and that guitar served well on one track. And I was like, oh, well, then, I can always go to this one. But the reason why I wasn't thinking the Black Strat was going to be the main one was because of the green Strat that I've done a bunch of videos on how I made it. It's got my hand wound pickups in it, and I really thought, oh, this is just going to be it, because it was my favorite guitar to play leading up to the album. But when it just all kind of came together, I sat with both of the other Strats, and I was just like, I'm gonna go grab the black one real quick and give it a shot. And then after the second time I did that, and then it was working great, I was just like, why would I use anything else? It's just so familiar to me. It's so much like home. So, and that's what I said in the tracking guitar video. It's like you have to be willing to sit and do 2 hours of the same thing over and over again on a guitar. And not every guitar you can do that with. And for some reason, the Black Strat, I just never have an issue. I can sit with that guitar all day, and it just feels right. So I tried others, and then I went back to it. So, all right. Well, should I move on to the next
Yes.
thing? All right. Let's go to a pedal. This is a pedal that I built. It is let's see here. Let's make sure I get this right. Yeah. So on this side right here, we have just a single transistor boost circuit. It is the MOD pile driver circuit. It's very much like an MXR micro amp, since I did do some revisions to like capacitor settings when I built the circuit. So I followed the MOD schematic, but I did modify it and to get a little bit closer to what an MXR microamp would be. And on the other side, we have just a simple bass cut. It's passive. It's just a potentiometer in there with a bass cut circuit. So what this pedal allows me to do is if I've got like a Les Paul or a humbucker guitar going and I feel like it's too dark or too muffly, I hit the bass cut. That brightens up the instrument, and then the boost raises the volume level back up, because when you cut the bass frequencies, all of a sudden, you get a volume loss. So the boost takes care of that. So this is like and I just use the boost on its own on almost every track. So this pedal is just constantly in use. It's almost an always on pedal. That bass cut is huge just to clean things up, especially for tracking, to keep things sparkly and nice. And then the boost circuit, I just kind of always have that MXR style microamp boost circuit going 24/7 through all my setups. So very important pedal.
Yeah, that's a great example. With pickups, it's typical to think all or nothing. It's either got to be humbucker, single coil, and that's all there is to it. But, a little bit of utility in envisioning your pedal construction can solve a problem and create new opportunities. So that's a great idea.
Absolutely. And I think that's a pedal. I mean, the MXR and other companies do have boost pedals that have robust EQ sections. And that's all well and good, but what I like about this is having those two switches, so that if I need the EQ activated, and mainly what I'm looking for is a bass cut, I just hit a switch, and it's great because it's just so simple. I never have to reach down, and I'm not twiddling knobs or dialing in like a 3-band EQ or something like that. So it's very simple.
Which is a great reminder about how context changes our view of things. Recording is bottom line. It's either this is working for me, it's not, or this is making the process easier, or it's not. And you're in that situation. All the 100 features that are stuffed into something that you don't have a need for are just distractions, where, this is getting you from point A to point B. So whether it's the sound of a guitar or whether a pedal really, does what needs doing in that moment, recording is a great example of just clearing away all the noise and seeing what really matters at the end of the day.
Yes, I want to have as few things between me and the track as possible. I just want to be able to sit down, and with the pedal like this, I mean, the one knob just for the boost, one knob for the cut on the bass, and then it's just so easy to use, and it sounds good in any setting too. So there's no like, oh, what do I do now? It's like, nope, you hit the button and you go for it. All right. Good stuff. I want to move on to a guitar that has been featured on the channel before. As the stand goes boom on the floor. That happens so much in these videos. So this is the I Got Scammed on Reverb Les Paul, Epiphone Les Paul. It's a Les Paul standard, Epiphone 2003 in black. It has been, gutted and documented on the channel, but this was my humbucker guitar. I did not end up using a single other humbucker guitar anywhere on the album. So if you hear a rhythm track that's a little bit hotter and crunchier and a little bit darker sounding anywhere on the album, it was this guitar. I did a few leads on it. Rather than using the syrupy, neck pickup setting on it, I mainly used it down in the bridge, and I was shocked by how good that sounded. It's kind of a different sound than I usually go to. And I appreciated having it. It was a lot of fun to play leads on the bridge on this particular guitar. It is so comfortable. It is relatively lightweight for a LP style guitar. I mean, this thing weighs about 7.5 pounds, so it's pretty light. And if all my other single cuts went away, if I had this one, I'd be fine. I wouldn't need any of the rest of them. So, yeah, definitely an MVP. It is the humbucker guitar.
Yeah, and this is one of the Korean models, right?
Yes, this is, from the Youngsong Factory 2003. I made a video about those guitars too,
Yes. Yep.
where I was like, there was some secret, there's some magic happening during that time period in Korean manufacture. I have this one. I have another. I have my Burst Les Paul, which is out in the studio or out in the shop. That is the same run as this one, basically, like close to the same month, same year. And then my Deans are also came out of that same factory around the same time. So, excellent guitar. I will try to get my stand. Well, you know what? We're just gonna lay that down for now. I hate guitar stands. I need to. I still use the same awful guitar stands that I've had forever, and it's on my buy list right now. Is that I need to get just a little 3-guitar rack, so when I'm doing something like this, I can just easily pull them on and off, and the thing doesn't fall over. Because I don't know how many times in these videos people have watched. It's just like, boom, there goes the guitar stand, and it's just gonna happen.
Yeah. I've still got my original guitar stands too from the very beginning. But
they're terrible.
Having gotten, I can't let go of them. It's like it still works.
Either.
It's still a tool. But having gotten one of those racks, it's like, yes, you need one of those. It will make everything easier and better with no downside.
Well, for most of my time, everything's on a wall. So I just grab it, and I only use stands when I'm making a video or I'm tracking so that I can just have it right there. And when I'm doing those things, I take the straps off. But I didn't take the strap off of this. So the strap, of course, caught the stand and just throws it right over. All right. This is a pedal that I've never discussed and an effect I've never discussed on the channel. And it might come as a little bit of a surprise, but the pedal I'm about to show ended up being on virtually every guitar solo that I did. And it sounds amazing. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done that. But it's the Nux Tapecore Deluxe. This is basically, it looks very familiar because this is a knockoff of like the Roland Space Echo kind of thing. But anyway, it is just a tape emulated delay, and cost me $100 brand new, and it just sounds great. Has a great organic character to it. You can dial it in really easily to work for anything. So you can just play normally. It doesn't get in your way. A lot of times what I notice with a traditional digital delay, and some analog delays, if you don't have them set correctly, or at least correctly for me, I feel like I'm battling the delay. Like the delay is coming, and then I'm not in time, and then I get self-conscious, and all of a sudden I'm just like, I turn it off, and I just crank the reverb up some more to try to get a little bit more depth going. But with this one, almost any setting, any place that I put it, and part of it too is because it does have, it's got a mix knob on it, which is nice, and I keep the mix relatively dry. And I just love the character of the pedal, and I can play anything I want, any way that I want, and it sounds good. So I really use it on a lot of solos, because I've always felt like my solos, just having that little extra trail around it and stuff like that just kind of fills things out a little bit in the mix. So the Nux Tapecore Deluxe, if you're looking for a relatively inexpensive, good, tape emulation delay kind of thing, this is a good choice.
That's terrific, and it's nice to see a mix knob. It feels like, those have been on pedals occasionally over the years, but it feels like something that's maybe pulled back from the plug-in technology, where a lot of plugins or tools in the DAW will have a mix knob to to sort of blend in the affected signal. And so it's cool to see that kind of thing coming back out to a pedal. It just creates some instant utility. So yeah, that's a new one to me. So I'm glad to hear about that. I'll check it out.
Yeah, and it has a huge feature set. I use it on just the most basic analog tape delay setting, as usual, but it has like 8 other different, like you can pick the number of tape heads. There's a lot, if you want to dive deep into tape delay, it does all those things, and it also has USB. So you can plug it into your computer and you can manipulate parameters that way, which of course I will never do. But
just wait.
But a feature set, no, I don't. That's not going to happen.
No, don't expect.
Yeah, don't expect that one to happen. So anyway, let me think. Any honorable mentions before I do my final one? Because the final one is another thing that's been on the channel a number of times, but I just have to always give it a shout out. And it's going to be a lead into a future video, which I'm not going to spoil, but I will allude to briefly. I did use the Hiwatt amp back there, the Hiwatt Crunch 50, only amp I used. Whole thing. One setting. Never changed the setting, just mixed the pedals up in front of it. It performed marvelously. No background noise, no weirdness, no picking up of signal from other places, which has been an issue in this space before because this is not necessarily wired with clean electricity in here. So, I mean, I do put everything through a power conditioner, obviously, but that doesn't guarantee things. And that amp really came through for me, so I can fully, tip my hat to Hiwatt for that particular amp. The newer version of it is called the Leeds. I am not in any way sponsored by Hiwatt. I just think that amp is fantastic, though. Very pleased with it. All right.
Yeah, so that means it must have been, kind of right in the middle tonally, not too much bass, not too much brightness, just kind of
it's got quite a bit of bass. Quite a bit of bass pulled out. I mean, it's probably at 3 o'clock on the bass.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you the settings just from memory. 3 o'clock on the bass, 6 o'clock on the mids, probably 7 o'clock on the treble. Mm. So it's pretty mid-treble pushed. But given the nature of how that amp is voiced, it can get really dark really quick. So it's got a big range. So nice. if I put that bass back in there, it would get dark fairly quick. I am using it just on the clean channel, and I find that with those settings, it works well with my dirt boxes, my Electro circuit.
The custom pedals. Yeah,
the custom pedals. So that just kind of, that EQ just works for that.
Great.
So anyway, final thing. I really, really wanted to not use this for every acoustic guitar track on the album. Steel string acoustic. There is one track that has my boutique Milet, which is just barely out of frame right now, but I have a really nice acoustic guitar I designed and had built for me, and there will be more about that at some point. But this old 1962 Gibson LGO, it's a 62 or 63, I can't remember at the moment. I think it's a 62. It ended up being everywhere, because especially now that I have leveled the frets finally. I finally got everything fixed on it. It is totally stable, tuning stable. I can play it up here, which I didn't used to be able to. Now that it's all dialed, it was on everything. Everything, and even with the tiny neck and everything, I still finger picked everything with it. It was the strummer. It was the finger picked guitar. Huh? It
just works, right?
There's nothing that sounds better with a microphone in front of it. Nothing sounds better than this guitar. It's kind of like the P bass that you gave me years and years and years ago. That 76 P bass. There's nothing better when you're recording. I mean, playing live, you could make arguments for all sorts of other things, even active basses or whatever. But I'm telling you, when you're just plugging a bass in to record a bass track. But anyway, this just once again, the LGO. And I didn't want to use it for everything. I was like, no, I'm going to use the Milet, or I'm going to use the cool old Parlor I have. I got all this stuff. And then I end up using I used like 4 guitars on the album, including the Telecaster. Really, it was Butters, the black guitars, and the LGO. Yep. That was like the whole. And now I know that if my house is burning down, which ones to grab first, for sure. If I grab the P bass and the Butters and then the 2 black guitars and this LGO, then I'm pretty much set. So
yeah, there's a reason they're all still here. Yeah, it's not an accident. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know kind of what I used, because the album is going to be out soon, and I am in the process of mixing. So everybody bear with me. I want to get it right. Everything sounds fantastic so far, so I just want to do it right. So I may not meet whatever artificial deadline I have, but it'll be out soon. I can almost guarantee it will be available on Bandcamp before Christmas Day. I can almost guarantee that. But I don't think digital distribution is going to happen before that because there's like a month lag. So I just have to be good with that. So. All right, Kevin, did you have anything I think that you wanted to discuss a topic briefly here at the end of the video.
I'll just tag on one thing real quick. And I love what you covered in this video. It really drives home the message that when you get down to brass tacks of actually applying your tools to a creative project, you really quickly learn what's important and what isn't. And you covered hardware, you covered instruments and equipment, which I love. But for those out there who are seeing the probably flurry of emails come through with sales for pedals or sales for effects, for virtual effects, for plugins, this is probably the best time of year to be buying plugins because everyone is pushing in their sales and trying to get as many sales as they can or subscriptions as they can. But it can be tempting to look for the do-it-all magic pixie dust pedal or effect plugin that will solve all of your problems and make your recording sound great all by itself. But invariably, if you start accumulating those plugins, you'll realize that they don't do that because one size fits all can never cover everyone's needs and all the different types of music being made. So my recommendation for that would be not so much pointing people toward a specific effect as just saying, look, if you're going to get something plugin wise, focus on what really matters and what's really the best utility. Focus on things like EQ, compression, things that'll help you with track separation as you're putting a mix together, and don't try to get the magic effect that will do everything all at once. You don't need to spend $200 for an EQ or a compressor or a limiter or things like that. Look for things that have a lot of value, a lot of utility, something like the TDR Nova is a great sort of all-in-one tool for compression and separation of tracks through side chaining and things like that. So that would just be my plug for the plugin sales season, is to take the message that has been conveyed throughout this video when it comes to instruments and hardware and apply that same thinking to plugins too. Think about, what really is most useful at the end of the day, and get skilled using it, and your projects will be a lot better, and you'll have a lot more ownership of the process through developing those skills. And you can look at your digital tools in the way that Tris is describing his physical tools as an arsenal of things that just work, that can be versatile and effective in a lot of different situations, and that you have developed the skill to use. So that's my plug-in for my plug for the holiday plug-in season, is to focus on the same things that you've been talking about with your instruments and gear.
All right. Well, that's great advice, as always, Kevin. And thank you so much for joining me today and indulging me in going through some of my stuff that I used for the album. Anyway, if you've watched the video to this point, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. Kevin and I would also appreciate the comment section. Please keep it clean in there. We do love the comment section. Leave any advice or anything about the plugins that may be a good suggestion from your end, and any questions that you may have. And hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time with another show. You take care.